Hello there. My name's Voyle Glover. I'm a lawyer, been a lawyer for some decades, semi-retired. For many of those years, I was a trial lawyer. And these are some of my war stories. Now, lawyers, when they get together, a lot of times they tell war stories. And I've got a lot of stories. And I'm going to share some of those stories with you. And part of this is, for me anyway, making a record for my kids. My kids have never heard most of these stories. So I'm leaving a legacy for them. It's a way of capturing some of Dad's history. And you get to listen in. So I remember my first trial. Now, if you're going to be a trial lawyer, there's a time when you have a first trial. Unfortunately for me, I had never even had a small claims case, and guess what trial I decided to be my first? I took a civil rights case, a discrimination case in federal district court. So I had to learn how to prepare a complaint. I had to learn so many things. So I prepared the complaint, I filed the complaint, get it before the court, and eventually the trial schedule gets set. And so there I am. I'm in court, my client's on the stand, and I'm asking him questions, and I keep drawing an objection from opposing counsel. And finally the judge got tired of it. I was asking the same question, trying to get it in. Objection, Your Honor, leading the witness. Well, I didn't know what leading the witness meant. I didn't know you couldn't ask leading questions of the plaintiff. You can ask of the defense witnesses, but not the plaintiff, not your witnesses. And leading questions is pretty simple. You can ask, a witness, on your side, the plaintiff, whatever. You can say, now, what time did you see him leave the building? That's good. You can't say, now he left the building around 12:45, correct? That's leading. Now you could ask the defense witness that. So anyway, I didn't know any of that stuff. So the judge got really irritated at me and literally yelled at me, leaned forward, raised up in his chair and yelled at me, "Counsel, that's not how you ask the question." And then he whirls around to my client, who's a big 6'2", huge guy, what do you call it, a black belt expert. And he yells at my client, same tone of voice, looks at my client and asks the question. My client is frozen. He's just sitting there slack-jawed. And the judge yells at him. This will show you what kind of a jerk this judge was. "Do you even know your own name?" That's what he yells at my client. Bad guy. In fact, that reminds me of a joke lawyers share a lot about these kinds of judges in federal court. And there's a lot of them. Do you know the difference between God and a federal court district judge? You don't? God doesn't believe he's a federal court district judge. Get that? Anyway, so the judge yells at me and gets me corrected, and that wasn't the only time he would yell at me in that case, but I won the case. And life moved on and so forth. They appealed it, of course. That's a whole nother story that I'll share some pieces of down the road. Here's the takeaway. Never be afraid to try. There are going to be things in your life that are going to be a first. And you're going to be afraid to try because maybe you don't know how to do it. Or maybe you're afraid of failure, and that's a big one there. All of us are afraid of failure, and we're especially afraid to fail in front of people. Look, don't do that. Don't be that way. If you're going to fail, all right. If you're going to screw up, whatever. At least you tried. You know, I have more respect for somebody to get in there and try and fail than somebody who just sits on the sidelines and goes, oh, well, should I? Come on, just do it. You know, one of the most famous people in all of history, if he hadn't got up to the plate, if he hadn't taken a stand, he would have never been famous. He'd have been a nobody. That was the time when David faced Goliath. I mean, think about it. You got a guy that's 9, 10 feet tall, and he's agile. He's not a lumbering giant. This guy was a warrior. And he's standing there and he's ready to take your head off. That takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage. And this was a first for David. He'd never fought a giant like this before. So all I'm saying is this. You're going to have a lot of firsts in life. Get out there and do it. Don't be afraid to fail. At least, at the very least, you'll get experience. You'll get experience and you might even win. Capiche? Come back for some more war stories. Thanks for listening.